Welcome to another episode of the For the Love of Cricket podcast with Jim and Akim. Today we'll be discussing tomorrow's World Cup final between India and Australia. Quite an intriguing battle. Both teams have about a 50-50 win record against each other since 2015 in one-day internationals. How do you anticipate this game going?
I think it will be a very exciting one. India comes into the game unbeaten, and Australia have won 8 games on the bounce. Australia started the tournament off in a very poor fashion. They lost the first 2 games, and many people had counted them out. But when you have a team like Australia with such capable players and players who are proven winners in terms of winning World Cups and big tournaments, it really bodes well for you in a tournament like this. India, on the other hand, have the support of 1 billion people, and they have the support of, they have the support of all the Indians around the world, and they've been playing brilliant cricket in the tournament. They seem to be firing in all areas, and they look almost formidable.
Let's put together some scenarios. Firstly, before we get there though, do you think Australia has the capability of rolling India over?
Definitely, I would never want to count the Aussies out. They're a championship winning team, as I've said. They've won the Cricket World Cup 5 times. They've gone 8 games unbeaten in this tournament. They lost the first game of the tournament to India. But I'm sure if there was one team India would not have wanted to face in this final, it was definitely Australia.
Australia were to win tomorrow's game, how do you see that playing out?
I think if Australia are to win the game tomorrow, the power play will be important. We've said it all tournament, and when you look at Australia's team, they've been really dominant. The top 3 batters have really been the ones that have set the tone for them. David Warner, Travis Head, and Mitchell Marsh. Mitchell Marsh started the tournament opening and he moved to number 3. He has 2 centuries in the tournament. Warner has been good. He's one of the all-time great 50-over players. And then when you look at somebody like Glenn Maxwell, who comes in at number 6 or number 7, he has the capabilities of changing the game completely. He's a disruptive player, and on his day, he's almost impossible to stop.
From my point of view, I think the most logical way for Australia to beat India tomorrow would be to bowl first, get 3 wickets inside the first 15 overs, bowl back of a length throughout the middle and to a more shorter length to the middle order players, and try to get to that number 8 batsman that you've been mentioning all tournament, that is Mohammad Shami, before the 36th, 37th over. I think that will help them towards the death of the innings to restrict India and try and keep them at a total to about 280 or less. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you. I think the bowling inside the first 10 to 15 overs from Australia is very important. We've seen the template that India has set in this tournament. Rohit Sharma has been comfortable in going out and expressing himself and being his destructive best because he can rely on Virat Kohli at number 3 and then Shreyas Iyer, who has been brilliant in this tournament, at number 4 to really take control of the middle overs. He tries to get them off to a rapid pace, push the bowlers back, and that allows Kohli and Iyer, it gives them the freedom to really come in and really set up the stars and play how they want to play and take the innings deep. India knows that the batting is a bit short with Mohammad Shami at 8. So what they try to do, they try to control the middle overs with Iyer and Virat Kohli and KL Rahul, who has also been pretty good in the tournament as well. So the key for Australia will be striking inside the first 15 overs with Mitchell Starc, Josh Hazlewood, and Pat Cummins.
So when Australia would go into chase that total now, though, I think they would have to attack Mohammad Siraj, try and sit on Jasprit Bumrah. And it sounds counterintuitive, but they would need to attack Mohammad Shami as well. I think they can take the blueprint from Daryl Mitchell in the semi-final against India, where we have a tall right-handed player advancing down the pitch to the spinners and attacking the straight boundaries. With that being said, I think Mitchell Marsh would be very key in this game, especially throughout the middle, if Australia bowls first and then chases? How do you see Australia's chase in this scenario?
If Australia chases, as you said, it's very important how they go about it. When you look at the five bowlers that India plays with, they play with dead five bowlers. I don't consider Virat Kohli, Shubman Gill, Rohit Sharma, I don't consider them bowlers. They've been very fortunate to go through the tournament using only five bowlers, but it really speaks to the skill and the level that they've been operating at. I think when you look at the five bowlers, Siraj really stands out as probably the weak link among the seamers and probably throughout the whole attack. And if there's any bowler that Australia will look to target and they will have to get on top of, it is Mohammad Siraj. I think it's very important the role that Mitchell Marsh plays in this team. He has the potential to be very destructive. He averages over 50 against India in India. He hasn't scored a century against them, but he has a fairly good average and he'll be comfortable playing against them. He's very good to the spinners. He's a very tall player. He's dominant. He has the ability to really push them back. And then when you look at the middle order with Steve Smith at 4 and potentially Labuschagne at 5, they have been scoring at a pedestrian rate in the tournament. So how Marsh goes and how the openers go is very important in Australia setting a good target or chasing down a potential target.
In this scenario, do you think Glenn Maxwell would need to be a bit more careful as to how he starts his innings? He has the ability to catch up. He can score at 160, 170 at will.
I definitely think he would have to be a bit more careful. A lot more is at stake in this game. When you look at how he played in the game against Afghanistan, I think he was a bit more measured in his approach, but he was still striking at 90 or almost 100 at the start. He got to his half century at about a runner ball or just below, and then we saw him scoring 200 off 120, 130 balls. We all know he has the capabilities of stepping up and catching up and going well past a strike rate of 130 or 140. But how he goes at the start is so important because at times we really wonder what goes through Max's mind.
So that scenario, I think a more probable scenario for Australia to win would be, it sounds counterintuitive as well, I think they should bat first. They're a horrible team chasing. We always put pressure on South Africa about them being not very good in the chase, but Australia aren't much better. I think they should probably bat first, try and get about 320, and then go through that same process with the bowling, trying to get to that weak middle to lower middle order with Shami and the bowlers to come. Key to that though would be David Warner and Travis Head. They would have to get out at the opening bowlers, get at Mohammad Shami early, and set a good platform for Glenn Maxwell to come in at about the 38, 48 over and push the game forth and try and get above 320. What are your thoughts there?
I agree with that. I think with them batting first, it takes some of the pressure of the chase off. We've seen them in chases in the tournament where they've got through the chases, they have not looked very convincing. It has really taken mature knocks from people like Pat Cummins coming towards the end of their chases to really get them across the line. In a World Cup final pressure scenario, I don't think that is the ideal situation for them because it brings a lot more factors into play. I think looking at their approach and looking at how they will go at the power play, as we've said, the power play really dictates how this game will go. If they can keep Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami, and Mohammad Siraj out inside the first 10, 15 overs, they really have a strong chance in this game. They'll be contending against a crowd of 100,000 people and over 1 billion people watching the game. It's a lot of pressure just thinking about it. But if there was any team that you think that would be able of coming through that and countering it, it's definitely the Aussies. They have the pedigree and the caliber to do it.
I really don't think it is enough for them to just keep those three bowlers out in the power play. If that happens and they get less than, let's say they get between 40 and 50 runs from that power play, it is going to be very difficult to score more than 6 over with Jaspit Brummer having 4 overs in the death. I think they need to press the game early, control the middle, and set it up in such a way where they don't need to score more than 6 and over in the death from Jasprit Boomer and try and go at the other bowlers. Whoever will be at the other end supporting him towards the end of the innings. But enough of the hypothetical scenarios. How do you think India will approach this game? Will they dominate? What will be their modus operandi?
I think they'll look to go and play as how they've been playing in the tournaments. They have a proven method that has worked in all of the games thus far, and I think them going away or shying away from that method would be the first sign of nerves. That is how I see it. I think Rohit Sharma is the man that sets the tone for them at the top of the order. Whether batting first or batting second, he is the man that pushes everybody back. When you think about him, you think about his strengths. He's very good against left-arm seam. He's very good against a sharp ball. And on a flat track, if it's potentially a flat track, you really wonder what Josh Hazelwood, Pat Cummins, and Mitchell Starc can come up with against him. He is the man that will look to set the tone, and he will look to dominate and attack in the first 10 overs. After that, the role that Shubman Gill plays is very important. He hasn't had probably the most dominant tournament, you would say, but he still averages 50, which really speaks to his quality and how well he has played thus far. When you look at the rest of the team, when you look at Kohli at 3, who is averaging over 100 in the tournament, you look at Shreyas Iyer, you look at KL Rahul at 5, and Suryakumar Yadav at 6. They really have the team that is capable of batting deep through the overs, so it almost gives Rohit Sharma a license to go out and attack early, and I think that is how they have to play. If they change that, it's a sign of nerves.
It will be very, very, very tough for Australia to get 5 wickets against India before the 40th over, I think. Their top 5 batters, their lowest average career-wise is 49, and that is Rohit Sharma, the most dangerous of the 5. Additionally, of all Indian batters to score more than 2,000 runs, this top 5 are numbers 1 to 5 on that list. It is a formidable lineup. It is probably the best one-day international team, best World Cup team we have seen ever. They rival the 2007 Australian team, but I would give this team the edge. It is just incredible. How do you think they will attack Australia with the ball, though?
I think how they attack with the ball will be interesting. When you think about them, they really have 5 weapons, I think. Mohammad Shami has been brilliant in this tournament. He's averaging 9 runs per wicket. How do you keep somebody out that averages 9 runs per wicket? Just thinking about it, it is ridiculous. The skills that he has displayed, it's been phenomenal. It's been first rate. It really has been out of this world. Jasprit Bumrah, very important, but I think more than anything, the key will be how Mohammad Siraj goes. In the team meetings, both team meetings, I think both teams will know that he will be the man that will be targeted. He will come into the game knowing that, and that will be on his back. So it's really going to be about how he manages the pressure in this situation. When you look at the spinners, the likes of Ravindra Jadeja and Kuldeep Yadav, who will control the middle overs, and then you look at the Australian batting in the middle order, I think Jadeja will really fancy himself against Steve Smith and Marnus Labuschagne to really squeeze and apply pressure in those middle overs. I think India will look at the 20 overs that Kuldeep Yadav and Ravindra Jadeja will potentially bowl, and they'll think that they can squeeze those 20 overs for probably 70 runs, 70, 80 runs for 2 wickets, 2, 3 wickets, and that will change the game massively. Because if they can squeeze that middle period there, it will almost definitely reduce Australia to a score of less than 280. And I fancy India getting that every day of the week.
As we say, Australia is a formidable team. We can't count them out. They are how many times champions of this World Cup? and India have won twice. Um, both teams played a final earlier this year in the World Test Championship. We thought probably most people would have thought India could have won, but Australia won easily. Pat Cummins, champion in another chase. He's been pretty good in winning chases this year. With all that being said, who do you think will win?
I think the Indians will take it. Just looking at their team, looking at how strong they are and how balanced the unit is, I think even if they have an off day, it is still better than what Australia's best will be.
All right, guys, that's it for today. That is the final special. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, guys.